Hello everyone, my name is Jean-Joseph Achizion. I'm the Data Scientist Coordinator at Expo Data, and today I will like to talk about how natural language processing can be used within the pharma sector. This work was not possible, of course, without our partner Johnson & Johnson. For certain reasons, I won't be able to give you all the details about the work we did there, but I would still like to present you the case and the method. Um, One of the tasks that is done by one of the department at J&J is to verify the validity of some of their documents. To be more concrete, they need to make sure that the contract they sign with external partners have a number of criteria defined in documents. To give you just a simple example, if one of the criteria has to be data privacy, they have to check that it's present in the contract. This task was previously done manually, which meant that a person had to read through a contract, make sure that all the criteria are present. This was also a repetitive task, because the contracts can be updated over time, which means the whole process had to start again. And finally, this was also time consuming because a contract is not always a single document, and if it's multiple documents, all individual ones have to be reviewed. For this case, then, we propose this certain approach in order to automate the document review. So the workflow starts with contract collection. So a contract, as mentioned previously, can contain multiple documents. Then we apply natural language processing on all individual documents to do the verification of the criteria, or in other words, PV elements, as they call them. Since machine learning is not always 100% accurate, or is never 100% accurate, and we are only able to extract a certain confidence from the model, we ask the user to do a verification of the output. And finally, the user can take action from the output from the model. So the first step is contract collection. This was not a simple task because we first had to transform PDF images into usable text for our NLP model. So for this we used an OCR, which stands for Optical Character Recognition. We chose Tesseract, which is a wrapper for the well-known Google Tesseract OCR engine. There are a few advantages to choose this OCR. The new version uses long short-term memory, which is a recurrent neural network that improves character recognitions compared to previous versions. But that's not all. J&J is also an international company, and contracts can be written in many different languages, and Google Tesseract is able to understand those languages out of the box. And finally, it's open source, which is always an advantage for us users if we need to do some modifications. Once our input data is ready, we built a natural language processing model using one of the latest technology in NLP, transformers. Since that first introduction, there has been a huge race between many known companies. One of the latest transformers which made a big buzz was GPT-3, developed by OpenAI. You probably have heard of it. In our case, we decided at the time to use BERT, which was first released in 2018 by Google. However, BERT is a computationally expensive model, so we decided to use a variant of it, DistillBERT, which is made by Hugging Face. The main reason is because DistillBERT is lighter than BERT, which makes it easier to use in production. So I don't really want to go too deep on how a transformer works in this talk, but I wanted to show you why they are so powerful compared to previous techniques. If we speak about Bert, it has trained with a lot of data coming from Wikipedia and other various sources. Transformers are very popular, and the reason is because they start to understand better the context of the sentence. You can see here on the image that we have two different contexts using the word bank, and Bert is able to pick that up. So now those languages, those transformers are able to do a lot more tasks than before. Um, in our case, we can reduce our problem of finding PV elements to a classification problem where we use supervised learning. One of the downside of the project when we first started, we only had 50 contracts to label, which is really not a lot for training. However, it was not possible to get more at the time since it was a long process to retrieve documents. So we started with those 50 contracts, but how did we create labels? Because it's only documents, and a sentence can be created in many different ways. So in our case, a list of keywords that is used by J&J to find the PV elements were used. If I take a simple example here of the word artificial intelligence, we would look within documents where paragraphs have, for example, AI or expert systems. And the screenshots I create an example of how the training data set would look like at the end. So you can see we have the file name, the keyword, so here will be expert system, the data, which is the actual paragraph that we extracted from the document, and we will label it to artificial intelligence and not for elections or not for lockdown or any other PV elements. So then we can start building our input data sets. Considering our amount of training data, the model was able to achieve a very good accuracy on most of the PV elements on new incoming contract, which was surprising and good to see how powerful those transformers are. And of course, as more contracts are made available, we are able to retrain the model even further. But it's nice to have a model that works, but if it cannot be usable by the user, then it has no purpose or no power. So we propose this solution to J&J to review and retrieve easily contracts from the NLP model. The main idea was to make it more visual to use, and we started to design a web application where all the contracts and outcomes are stored in a database, and the user can connect and search previous contracts in a database. But it can also, the user can also upload manually a document if he wants to, and that will trigger the NLP model to do the task and verify if all the previous elements are present, and then this contract will be added into the database. But finally, I think it's always important to evaluate or measure how much impact such a solution can have, because machine learning should not be used if there is no added value. However, we can see that we were able to reduce considerably the time to review a contract using this automated approach. So for example, on average, a full contract, which could be again from multiple documents, could last 60 minutes, and we were able to reduce it to 2 minutes using the full automation. Thank you very much for listening to me, and if there are any questions, I will be happy to try to answer them. Thank you.